Folks, welcome back to CMM Live, where we help Long Island thrive. I am Joe Campolo, your host. Thank you for joining us. Today's session, we just had a terrific session with Randy Bussey from Workforce Development Group to talk about customer and client experiences and how to enhance them. Really great topic for every business out there. And now we have a great follow-up segment with Michael Frenda, a good friend from Dale Carnegie Training of Long Island. Michael's going to talk to us today about professional development, and again, by way of disclosure, Michael is a friend of mine, and I love the guy dearly. And we have gone through, myself personally, and just about all of our attorneys have gone through extensive Dale Carnegie training. I swear by it, and I wanted Michael here today to help talk to all of you about what it is and what value it can add to your organizations, to you personally, and professionally. So, Michael, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Joe. It's an honor to be here with you.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So, as you know, we've done a ton of work together. We've done a lot of training in Dale Carnegie, and I could, we could switch spots, and I could extol the virtues of what Dale Carnegie's been able to offer. But talk about it. First of all, talk about who is Dale Carnegie and what's the whole philosophy behind the training.
Sure. Dale Carnegie started out, he was a poor Missouri farm boy who actually became a teacher and a salesperson, and he was an aspiring actor, wound up in New York City in a roach-infested apartment up in the west side of Manhattan, and realized that in college he excelled at public speaking. And he saw that there was a need for that among business people. And he eventually got a gig at the YMCA in Harlem and was able to really make a quick impact with business people and became like a rock star. Back then, of course, there was no TV, there was no internet. So he had a newspaper column or several newspaper columns. He had radio shows, and it took off. And as he developed his company, he felt that there was a need for sort of a handbook for human relationship skills, how we can communicate with people and gain their willing cooperation and so on. He couldn't find that book. He hired researchers. He went to the New York Public Library. He couldn't find it, so I got to write it. So in 1936, he published How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is still a vigorous bestseller among business people. And it's really the handbook for how to get along with people. And Mr. Carnegie himself said, look, I didn't invent this stuff. I swiped this from Jesus and Socrates. I took these ideas and made them practical for business purposes. And I think what happens as a result of that is people, tend to flourish once they get that bug, and they want, sort of as Randy was saying, it helps people to become more successful and to care more about what they're doing. We all want to be successful. We all want to contribute. That's, I think, is a basic human need. And sometimes the organizations get in the way of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. One of the things that I love about Dale Carnegie, so I read the book at a very young age. It's a very easy read. I highly recommend it for folks out there that haven't read it. And if you're in business and you haven't read the book, then shame on you. You should be reading it. But it's been the sustainability and the brand.
Yeah.
Right? There's no shortage of coaches out there. There's no shortage of business development,
correct,
professional development organizations out there. And Dale Carnegie is still on top. Right? So how do you guys do that? How do you work? How do you work with organizations? How do you make sure your curriculum is right? How do you do all that?
Right. So I think that because the principles that Dale Carnegie laid out are timeless, really. We talk about today millennials and the different generations, but it's really, these things are timeless human needs, human ways that we communicate. So it's still relevant. In fact, many times today I look and say, well, now they're talking about employee engagement. We didn't call it employee engagement. We've been talking about that for 100 years. So I think we remain relevant because we're changing with the times in the way that we deliver our work, but essentially those principles are there, and they're timeless. So they're always relevant. And I think today, with technology, our principles are even more relevant, with the people doing this all the time and not really making that eye contact that you were talking about. People listen with their eyes, right? And it shows that you're paying attention, and that's important. It makes the other person feel significant. That's always going to work. And as long as we have to deal with people, these principles are going to be effective.
Yeah, so let's dig in a little bit to the types of training that you offer, right? One of the things that we talked about and we focused on with Dale Carnegie was sort of humanizing lawyers and making them likable. You know, it's a process. It sounds silly, but it's a true, it's a true process. So what are the different types of offerings that you have, and the different types of growth packages that business folks can be looking at?
Right. So that's true. Professional service people, accountants and attorneys and engineers, they're all very intelligent people, and they like the thinking process.
It's just so boring, though. They're so boring, right?
Well, sometimes they are, right?
Yeah.
And I think we just need to, dig a little deeper inside. Mr. Carnegie started out working with an engineering firm, I think it was in Philadelphia, and he said, if I can get these people to step outside their comfort zone and be more likable and be more interested in other people, then I can do this with anybody. And he was successful with that. I just had a graduate the other night in one of our corporate solutions program come forward and say, look, I picked engineering because I didn't want to have to talk to people. I didn't want to have to get up and talk in front of people. I wanted to just be focused on my work. So I think that's core to a lot of the professional service people. But when they are able to step outside that and be able to share and connect with people, they'll be more successful. Become rainmakers for the firm, possibly. Be able to have a greater sense of collaboration among their peers and work with their clients better. So I think that's what we offer when we're on our best game. The Dale Carnegie course is really the secret sauce. It's the one it's based on how to win friends and influence people. And as long as we're dealing with people, as long as that's always going to be there, these skills are essential.
Yeah. So professional development to me, and you and I have had these conversations numerous times, professional development to me is critical. It has nothing to do with getting a degree in law, getting a degree in business, or getting a degree in accounting.
Correct.
Professional development is so critical. Yet none of the institutions out there that folks go to get a college degree or a law degree teach it.
That's true.
None of them even incorporate it into any of their curriculum.
Keeps us in business.
Which to me is a shame.
Yeah.
So talk about professional development. Talk about when we talk about professional development, what does that mean?
Right. So I think even if it was taught in primary and in high school, it would be very helpful. I mean, these are things that are indispensable to our way to navigate through life. So professional development is the ability to kind of self-develop from the inside out to be the best version of yourself. Naturally you have to have, the base of the triangle is your knowledge. As an attorney, you need to know the law, right? You need to know the consequences. You need to know the direction to be able to point people. But we also talk about the triangle of success. And at the base is the knowledge, but the attitude and the skills are how you deploy that knowledge. So if you have the right attitude and you bring that to each engagement, and you have the skills to be able to communicate with people, you're going to be able to use that knowledge. If you keep it to yourself, it's going to be hard for you to do that. So professional development helps people to be better at deploying that knowledge. And that's a key. And it's funny that we've done this over and over and over again, and it's like 85% of the skills that people say are the skills of success come from attitude and skills and dealing with people. Not the knowledge. The knowledge is, and that's where people seem to kind of want to work more. All right, so we want to be able to develop that knowledge to a greater level. But if the 5% of the people are actually working on the attitude and skills to make your knowledge relevant.
Right. So Dale Carnegie is an international program. You're part of the Long Island team here. Long Island has such a highly educated population and workforce. I mean, it's like crazy how how into formal education Long Islanders are, but that's great. Do you find that that's an easier market to provide Dale Carnegie services to, or do you find that they're more skeptical or resistant towards personal development?
I think that it's yes and no. I think even despite our great success, oftentimes it's hard for us to get people to see that the results, the outcome is tangible. We can see that. Up front, it's hard for people to get that. I've talked with clients who've told me that they've surveyed their people, and the great majority of them, and oftentimes young people, want professional development. They want soft skills training. They say that they want that, but yet that company still has yet to engage with us. And the managing partner of the firm told me this. I was like, well, it's hard for them to kind of connect the dots. It's our job to get them to see that. But we have pieces of the program, return on investment projects, that 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 show that proves that this works. And I'll give you an example. The other night we finished up with this manufacturing company here on Long Island, very successful. They get it. They understand it. The return on investment projects that were turned in by 21 people were about $2 million. So again, if 10% of that works, and already if some of this is in progress, it's happening. If 10% of that works, it's like a 5x return on their investment. So when you see that, it's demonstrable. Sometimes it's hard to get people to see that. They think it's an intangible. It'll be nice to people, and it doesn't really have an impact. It has a huge impact. That's why companies like Apple and Google and Microsoft use us. Somebody like Warren Buffett, one of the most wealthy people in the world, says that's the only diploma he has hanging in his office. It's this Dale Carnegie diploma. He said, I knew I had the intellect, but again, like an attorney or an engineer, he said, I knew I had the intellect, but I didn't have the persona. And that's what helped. That's what Dale Carnegie helped him to do.
Yeah, and I'll tell you. So I watched his recent documentary on HBO where he talks about that, and he's still got a little bit of a quirky personality. So
Yeah.
thank goodness that Dale Carnegie helped him out, because he's a rough watch. Talk about some of the programs you have. So if an individual said, you know what, I feel like I could use some help. I feel like I'm a little shy. I feel like I'm not reaching my development. How would Dale Carnegie help those people? What sort of offerings do you have?
So the Dale Carnegie course is really our foundational course. That's the one that's based on how to win friends and influence people. And that's the way we're able to get people to kind of develop to be the best versions of themselves by stepping outside their comfort zone, building their confidence, getting them to become more engaged in their work. And again, I think that it's a human nature thing that people want to be able to make contributions at a greater level, and the way that they can do that is to dig deeper and go inside. It's like John D. Rockefeller. He died in 1937. He was the world's first billionaire, and he said the ability to deal with people is as purchasable a commodity as coffee or sugar. And I will pay more for that ability than for any other under the sun. When he died, his wealth was estimated to be 4.5% of the entire output of the United States economy. So I think he knew what he was talking about there. And the idea that people can develop themselves and become more successful and gain confidence and really be able to reach into their potential is the core thing that we do for people. We help them to do that.
Right, and how do you do that? So what sort of exercises do they sort of do?
So basically, we need to move people outside their comfort zone. We don't like to move them into the panic zone, but we get them to get up and talk, right? We talk about that's the learning zone. So, and by example, by seeing other people do it. But they have to get up each week and kind of make little micro presentations. They work one-on-one with people who are in small groups. And by doing that, it's sort of like building a muscle. You start to develop more confidence. And when you say, I get some wins by doing that. We have little things in the program, like little memory exercises and things like that. People see, hey, I can do that. And it inspires them to go to greater levels. And then we talk about things like disagree agreeably, so that's a big thing. Conflict in the workplace is huge. So if we're able to get better at, collaborating and cooperating, again, this builds our confidence. It's like a success cycle. It kind of feeds itself. And every week we come in and we practice these things. We give them time-tested and proven knowledge. But many times the seminars end there. You come in, you got the right attitude, you get the great material, and then you leave and you forget about it. Ours, sort of part of the secret sauce, is to be able to practice that in the classroom and in the workplace, and come back and talk about your experiences. Aha moments result from that, and these then eventually burn into habits, and you hit the goals that you set by being able to develop that.
Do you see elected officials coming to use your services?
We've had some. Yes, we have had some. We probably would do a better job getting more.
Yeah, we would probably be better off if more of them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, elected officials that are out there, if you want to use these services, I'll pay for them. You call Michael and I'll pay for them, because I think the country can only win with those sorts of listening and problem-solving services. Let's talk about technology a little bit. The millennial generation,
Yes.
technology, cell phones, texting, Twitter. Seems to me that it creates challenges for Dale Carnegie training, right? So how are you guys facing that? How are you shifting? How are you developing? How are you dealing with that?
I think those are all great things and not going away, right? The idea is to make people more dependent, less dependent on that for the primary focus of the communication. I had a company I dealt with out in the Hamptons that had basically the baby boomers and the millennials, and they were at odds, because again, the baby boomer would want to talk to the people and they'd be on their phones and things like that. And it was like, well, we got to bridge the gap. This is really two different languages we're talking. So I think that millennials do resonate with what we do very well. As long as they're exposed to it and they understand it. And I don't think there's going to be a radical change in less dependence on that technology. It's here to stay, and it can be very useful. But when there's an awareness built from them being exposed to our work, we do see results. And I think the big problem is bridging the gap between the generations. There wasn't some strange phenomena in the gene pool that happened around 1980 that caused millennials to be how they are. It's what we did as boomers and Gen Xers and how we raised them. So now we have to deal with that. But I think that they respond really well when they're exposed to our work. They understand that.
Yeah, and it's what happens is I would love to not have to deal with technology. From a business perspective, I'm somebody who enjoys talking to people. I like to get on the phone. I don't mind doing that.
Yeah.
The challenge is you're almost falling behind your competitors now, if you're not.
Right.
If you're not plugged in, if you're not doing it, and we've created this system now where there's no way out. Do you find millennials are aware of Dale Carnegie training? Do you find that there's a challenge like marketing to millennial generations? How do you find that?
Yeah, that's been our challenge. People from my generation, your generation, older, they knew Dale Carnegie as the gold standard, and we've done a poor job, frankly, of communicating that. It's getting better. We've reversed. I think we turned the ship around and are doing the right type of branding and things like that to help to reach that audience. Like I said, I think once they're exposed to it and they're aware of it, there's an eagerness and there's a resonation with them that makes it effective. It is a challenge. And we also have a great library now of live online training where we try and replicate the same mood that goes in which is part of the Dale Carnegie experience in the class online. And naturally, millennials and even the Gen Z now coming along, they're going to be more numerous next year than the millennials. They like online stuff, so that's where it's going. I don't think we'll ever not have the live classes, but I think that the live online is more attractive to them, and that's the way that we can get exposed there.
Yeah, you guys have a great book out too, How to Win Friends in the Digital Age. I think it's called. I've read that. I think that's a really great read for folks to to do it. So as a business owner myself, and look, you're an entrepreneur, and you have had and have businesses. You're always trying to keep costs down. So you're looking for what's the return on investment, right? What's the return on investment? And soft skills, a lot of people don't think that there's going to be a return on in investment. How do you approach business owners? Are there statistics? Are there quantifiable ways that you can help businesses understand how it can grow productivity? Absolutely.
I think that, again, people often look at it as an intangible, fuzzy, kind of feel-good thing that really, that's not going to have any tangible results. But yet, there's a lot of proof out there. I mean, we deal with more than 400 of the Fortune 500. We have tens of thousands of other companies. So there's a lot of testimonials and case studies and, proof that we can bring to bear. I have a large client that's in the financial services business, and they told me at one of our wrap-up meetings when we were designing the next program, more than 100% of the people that went through your program were promoted. I was like, what? Yeah, mathematically, how does it work out? Well, it was really simple. Some of them were promoted twice. So, there are results. People see, and this is a large organization on Long Island in the financial services sector. They dominate their piece of the industry, and they see tangible results, right? They see people getting promoted. They see a greater level of contribution. The return on investment projects that are in our two core programs, the leadership training for managers and the Dale Carnegie course, participants have to come up with an idea that either increases revenue or decreases cost. Yep. So if any of those get implemented, the training is essentially free. So it's our ability to convince or persuade or to educate the CEO of a company, that this is important. I often will start a presentation by ripping a dollar bill in half and say 50 cents out of every dollar that comes into your company goes back out to our people, right? Salaries, benefits, bonuses, recruiting, training, turnover. Turnover is a huge cost. And if that was one line item on your P&L called people, then the CEO would pay attention to that because it's a huge number. It's scattered all over the place, but it's a huge number. And that's one of your biggest areas of investment. Don't you need to protect that investment? Don't you need to grow that investment? You need to pay attention to that.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I believe that your program was so successful with our firm and resonated so well with our attorneys and our staff was because all the partners participated. So it was from the top, down.
Right.
And talk about that, because I really think that companies that are investing in this training and aren't doing it themselves from a management perspective are training employees that are going to leave and go to competitors that have that philosophy.
Yeah.
Talk about that whole dynamic and how important it is for the top to be at these sessions.
I'm going to play this to the CEOs that I meet with after this, because they're hearing it from a leader who understands it, who gets it.
It was absolutely critical that I be in every session and be doing the exercises,
right?
Getting videotape, doing the hokey pokey with everybody.
Right. Right.
It's critical.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. And it's hard to convince people. Sometimes the ego gets in the way. They don't want to be seen as being like, oh, I need to be fixed. And it's not that. But it's also inspiring and encouraging your people to be better by being there. And I think it's so critical that you understand that, and that always leads to more success in the program. And I've had the exact opposite, where I've had C-level people invest in the training, but sort of divorce themselves from the whole process. And the results, unfortunately, often it's clear that that gap was there. People don't, it's like we say about, parents, right? It's like kids don't really listen to what you say, but they watch what you do. So I think you set a great example by having yourself and your partners involved in the program, and that's a key. And some of the education that we've had now over the last 10 years or so, we talk about engagement. And it's been going on, billions of dollars have been invested in research, and Towers Watson and Gallup, they've done this research over and over again and found that this is a problem. Employee engagement is a problem. But essentially, over those years of that awareness, it's been basically flat. And what we found is that because that most organizations don't pay attention the way you did and didn't participate, that's where the snag is, and that we're trying to close that now by making people aware that you need to be involved. This company that I talked about, the manufacturer that finished up this week, the president and the executive vice president is family-run business, a couple $100 million a year business. They were involved in crafting the program. They actually had Gallup come in and do the research, and they found that there was some gaps and things like that. And we went to work with them on how to close that. And they were there for the graduation. They showed their support throughout the whole process. They weren't in the program itself. That would have been even better. But the idea is that they were very supportive, and the people knew that it was important for them and for the organization. And I think that's part of the secret sauce that makes it happen, when you have that engagement from your level.
Yeah, you gotta believe in it. Look, I knew it. I believe that is the DNA that needs to run through the organization. It is never going to be effective if somebody says, well, let me give it to my staff so they feel like I care and I'm doing some training.
Right.
But I don't need it.
Right.
Or I think it's hogwash. I don't need it. But let them do it. You're going to lose good people.
That's right.
You have to, and what it really effectively did for us, Michael, was it infused dialogue that was very common within. We all went through it together. We all had stories to share about it together. We all discuss it all the time, and it really becomes part of your fabric and part of your DNA. Culture. And it's critical that organizations, have that. And so I'm letting business owners and senior executives out there know that if you think that you don't need it, but your team needs it, then you're not as good as a leader as you actually think that you are. They're the ones who are going to be leading the company into the into the future. It's really that important. So let's shift just a minute here. So I want to talk again about millennials, right? Because
Okay.
I think that, you know the statistics, 80% of our workforce by 2025 is going to be millennials. How are your offerings shifting? I want to help you reach out to the millennials that'll watch this and say, what's in it for me? Who is Dale Carnegie? I know Simon Sinek, and I know Tony Robbins, and I know
Yeah.
all these people. Who the hell is Dale Carnegie? You
Right,
know?
yeah.
So go, baby, pitch him right
Sure,
now.
sure.
You know?
So, Tony Robbins talks about Dale Carnegie. He said, he stands on the shoulders of the greats that came before him. And I'm familiar with Simon Sinek as well. I think that, it's a marketing thing on our part, to help to attract them. It's the method of delivery. Again, more of the live online things that they're going to be more, apt to move towards. I think it's generally, it's marketing. It's like they know that they want to develop. I told you about that firm that surveyed their people, and the young people said, I want soft skills training. So somehow they know about soft skills training. Whether or not they know about Dale Carnegie or who does it, they know that they need that. That's an important ingredient for success in their career and in their life. So I think there's an awareness there. There's an eagerness there. It's a matter of us, coming to meet and getting them into the programs. And I said like before that I do believe that when we do have them, it resonates with them. It's like, I know you're a fan of Jim Rohn, as I am. He said, it's not what you get on the job that counts. It's what you become, right? And I think we help people to become better versions of themselves. So once people are exposed to that, whether they're millennials or baby boomers, or they're going to grasp that, and they're going to see that, and they're going to understand that the power of that. And again, the companies they admire most, who are they? Apple. Apple is a big Dale Carnegie client. Google is a big Dale Carnegie client, right?
Warren Buffett, like you mentioned, Warren
Yeah.
Buffett is amazing. I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you to the millennials that are out there watching this, if you want to distinguish yourself from your competitors, from your fellow millennials in any environment, you need this training. Okay, because they are so inclined to send an email or a text rather than pick up a phone
Right.
and talk to somebody.
True.
Their whole generation is so inclined to do that. That the easiest way to distinguish themselves is go through this training and have the confidence
That's right.
to talk to people. You will stand out far beyond anybody else in that pack if you're just willing and able to do that. Just like with Randy, I can't believe our half hour has come to a close. These go by so fast. They're some of my favorite sessions. Michael, people want to get in touch with you. They want to talk about training. How do they do that?
I always love to have that conversation. Invite me in, give me a call, 631-875-0595 or michael.frenda@dalecarnegie.com.
Michael Frenda from Dale Carnegie Training in Long Island. Best in the business, folks. We did it. You should be doing it too. And we'll see you next time on CMM Live.
Achieving breakthrough engagement, enabling leaders to move your employee engagement to the next level. Engaged employees are today's competitive advantage. According to one study, 85% of company leaders say employee engagement is an important priority. In fact, companies have spent billions of dollars on surveys, wellness programs, workplace amenities, flexible work arrangements, and more to better engage their workforce. Yet, according to most studies, employee engagement has remained just about flat. While some organizations have been very successful, many, maybe even your own, haven't realized the gains they'd hoped for. Among the many engagement drivers, leaders continue to be the most important. According to Dale Carnegie's latest research, unlocking your engagement potential means getting leaders at every level to make engaging employees a daily priority. Of the leaders who make engaging their employees a daily priority, 64% report above average employee retention, and 53% said their teams are always willing to go above and beyond to get work done. What do we mean by daily priority? We all know that if we want to lose weight, healthy eating and exercise can't be something we fit into our schedule only on occasion. It's the same with engagement, and it means forming new habits and making them part of our daily routines. It means consistently exhibiting behaviors that elicit the right emotions and create an environment of psychological safety in each and every interaction. To enable leaders, it's essential that organizations treat employee engagement like other important company goals. When this happens, leaders are almost 4 times more likely to make engagement a daily priority. Provide support and practical training for leaders, and demonstrate the personal benefits of engagement to leaders. By enabling your leaders at all levels to make engaging their teams a daily priority, you'll be on your way to moving your employee engagement to the next level. When dealing with people, remember, you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion. To learn more about what you can do to realize real success in your engagement efforts, download our white paper or attend one of our engagement events at a Dale Carnegie Training Center near you. www.dalecarnegie.com